Coming up on the Paper Talk today, we've got a load of quotes from Ruben Amorim. He was speaking after yesterday's defeat at Aston Villa. Yes, thank you, my brother. Also, we'll have some transfer news as well. Antoine Semenyo, is he coming to Old Trafford? Let's get into it. Jay here for Stretford Paddock. This is the Paper Talk. As you can see, I'm outside Old Trafford and the weather it's not too shabby, to be honest with you. It might not even need your parkers. Loads of stories to get through. Before we do, though, make sure you are hitting like, share and subscribe. We want to get to 850,000 subscribers. And with your support, yes, we can get there. As you would expect, most of the stories this morning focusing on yesterday's game against Aston Villa. The Reds losing at Villa Park. Frustrating afternoon. I'll be honest with you, I gave my sort of 2 penneth on it in the review with Joseph. I'm not as deflated, angry, annoyed as I normally would be after a defeat. I thought United played quite well. Little bit unlucky. I know people don't like to use the word luck in football in certain aspects. The most annoying part of the game was the fact that we conceded 2 sort of goals that were carbon copies of each other. But it was a better performance for Manchester United, even if the result wasn't there. Ruben Amorim's been speaking after the game, and there's a lot of quotes doing the rounds. He spoke about the defending. He sort of stuck up for Leny Yoro, who was getting quite a lot of stick because Morgan Rogers basically scored the same goal twice against Leny Yoro. Could have been a little bit better, I think, from the defender. Could have got tighter to him. But he mentioned Leny Yoro and Aidan Heaven, how they are good defending one-on-one, 1 versus 1, and also Luke Shaw as well. He also mentioned how difficult it is to defend against Morgan Rogers because he can go one way or the other, which I get all that, but I still think we can say that Leny Yoro, who is a very talented defender, I'm not throwing him under the bus and saying he's not, could have done better, and a player of that calibre, you would expect better from him. Also, when it came to injuries, the manager, I think he said nobody's going to die when he's speaking about the injuries, which is quite an honest comment. I should hope not, but he was referring to the fact that we have lost quite a few players at AFCON. Now as well, we've lost Bruno Fernandes, which I think that might be the first time I've ever said this on the channel, that Bruno Fernandes is injured. We don't know how long it's going to be. I think they said a while, but there's talk that it might be some sort of tear, that it could be, again, I'm being sort of vague here, but it could be, over a month. I don't know. As soon as we get an update, we will give it you. It's just, it feels weird when it's talking about Bruno Fernandes being injured, because he's never injured, but it does look like this could be a sort of, I won't say serious in the sense that it's going to keep him out for, the rest of the season or anything like that dramatic, but it's not a minor or not an insignificant injury. There you go. I got there in the end. I think that would be the way to describe it. Kobbie Mainoo, who missed out yesterday, probably would have started yesterday. He's got a calf injury. He apparently is out for about a week. He isn't going to make the Newcastle game, so we know we haven't got Bruno and Kobbie Mainoo definitely for the Newcastle game. We're hoping to get an update on both those injuries this week. So that's annoying and frustrating for the manager. Casemiro does come back, though. That is one bonus. Manuel Ugarte didn't cover himself in glory yesterday in midfield. I don't know if he's going to start. One player who did do quite well in midfield was Lisandro Martinez when he came in, and he was operating a bit further forward than he normally does, picking out some good passes, always looking to go forward, really confident on the ball as you'd expect. Could he be an option for Manchester United's midfield against Newcastle? We'll have to wait and see. Lots of ifs and buts and maybes there. But there are options, not great options, but there are options for the manager. Also as well, one thing that we saw yesterday was debuts for Shea, Lacey and Jack Fletcher. Now, the academy has become almost a bugbear for the manager. He's been getting a lot of stick about it, been getting a lot of questions about it, mainly focusing on the sense that, or the sort of narrative or the story of Kobbie Mainoo not starting any games in the Premier League this season. United not really having any academy players in the first team, barely having any on the bench at times. I think Mainoo and Fletcher, one time or another, have been the only academy graduate to be on the match day bench or in the match day squad. So that's something that Ruben Amorim's been questioned about. We saw last week there was this talk, or you mentioned Toby Collier and Chido Obi and Harry Amas. There was some pushback from the likes of Obi and Amas on socials. It was all getting a little bit messy and soap opera-y, wasn't it? And there was sort of the same old questions about, does this manager rate the academy? Is he going to use the academy? Does he value the academy and all that other stuff? Well, he obviously does, because he used 2 players yesterday and gave them the debut. So he's not against using academy players, and that's refreshing to see. And I was pleased to see Shea, Lacey and Jack Fletcher get on the pitch. Especially, well, both of them, to be fair. But Shea Lacey's had a lot of injuries. Great to see him finally get into the first team when there was some people questioning whether injuries might completely derail his career. That's not happened. Jack Fletcher, who isn't there just because his dad's Darren Fletcher. That's not how it works at Manchester United. You don't just get to play for the first team because your dad used to play for us 15 years ago. That isn't a thing. he's in the team on merit, and this is a manager who we know will only pick players on merit. He's got no qualms about not picking academy graduates. He ain't just going to go, well, he's an academy graduate and his dad's his player, we'll give him a game. That ain't going to work with Ruben Amorim. So Jack Fletcher in there on merit, and same with Shea, Lacey. Both thought they could pretty neat inside. He did quite well. Not a lot to see, was there? A lot going on, but it was a solid debut from both of them. Hopefully the first of many more games. If I can turn my attention to transfers slightly, if you'll allow me, the big news is Antoine Semenyo, who we've been linked with quite heavily. It feels a lot of the updates are regurgitated updates. We've had Romano saying that, United are in for him, Liverpool are looking at him, City are looking at him. His preference, I think, is at the minute, a lot of journalists are reporting that he'd maybe prefer to go to Manchester City. They seem to be in pole position. There's talk that Manchester United have made contact with the players' representatives. We'll have to wait and see what happens with this. Ruben Amorim on transfers did say that he wasn't, basically I'm paraphrasing here, that he wasn't going to go to Omar Brada and Jason Wilcox and demand a load of transfers in January, that he was going to be able to cope with what he's got. More or less that's what he said. That can change, obviously. We don't know. There has been quite a lot of stories reporting that we are going to try and get Semenyo in January. Whether that happens, I don't know. There's nothing quite concrete yet, and you could argue, well, have we got the money for it now? Do we actually need an attacker now? Well, we could certainly use him. I think he'd get straight into the team. Is it a panic buy because of AFCON? How does he fit into this system? All those questions will come in. But I think if he was to behave, if we were to sign Semenyo, I wouldn't be disappointed about that, as long as we get a midfielder in the summer, if not two midfielders. We need midfielders. You saw that yesterday, where I know it was quite a strange situation in the sense that Mainoo, Casemiro and Bruno were all absent, but you ended up playing a defender in midfield because you end up bringing on a player to make it, a teenager to make his debut because you like midfield. And even when everyone's fit, I still think we're light in midfield. So I'd be amazed if Manchester United didn't buy at least one, if not two midfielders in the summer, and I expect one of those midfielders to cost upwards of 80 million quid. I don't think we're going to go out and buy a £30 million midfielder. I think we'll be going for someone like an Elliot Anderson, maybe Carlos Baleba or an Adam Wharton, all of whom are probably going to cost 70, 80, 90, maybe 100 million. That's the sort of market we're going to be shopping in. So I expect Manchester United to look at that when we're going in January. If we go in January for everyone, what's the money like? What's the budget like for our summer transfers in terms of bringing in midfielders? That should be a priority feeling for Manchester United. I like Semenyo. He's a good player. He did well here, even though he's lucky he didn't get a red card for putting his hands around Diogo Dalot. But the priority for Manchester United should be a midfielder. If we can get both, great. If not, focus on a midfield. That's my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts. Do you agree? Just one final one as well. When it comes to transfers, Joshua Zirkzee. Again, being linked, there's a load of stories doing the round. I think Romano's had it that he's been linked with a move to Roma. Now, we were talking before the game yesterday about Mainoo maybe going out on loan or going on a permanent deal in January. Now, regardless of what you think about the player's development and things like that, if you're the manager and you've got a player that you do use, I know he doesn't play as many games as a lot of people like to see, but he has featured, I think, in 11 games this season. Are you going to let him go out on loan when that weakens your squad and doesn't actually help you? Probably not. And I think the same with Joshua Zirkzee, because Joshua Zirkzee gets minutes for Manchester United. Joshua Zirkzee's actually started a couple of games for Manchester United, which is in the Premier League, which is more than Kobbie Mainoo's done. Are you going to let another striker, another attacker go if you're Ruben Amorim? When that's a player you've used, that's a player that started games for Manchester United. It's a player that scored this season for Manchester United. I know he's not exactly set the world alight, but he has been a useful player at times for this club this season. So you're going to let him go out on loan when that doesn't help you and that takes away a striker you probably need? I don't think he will. Let me know what you think. Get involved in the chat in the comments. Going to be back later on today. We've got Uncensored. We've got the Paddock podcast. We've got all sorts coming up. Plus, don't forget, you can check out the reviews from yesterday. You can see me and Joseph. You can see Andy Tate. You can also check out Stephen Alson's review as well. Also, go and check out the merchandise. There's a link in the description for our merch. Big thank you to everyone who supported the channel by buying merch, and I'm sure you agree if you have bought merch, the quality is very good. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. I've been Shea. This has been a Paper Talk outside a pretty cold Old Trafford, actually. It's getting a bit colder. Thanks for watching.